Dreaming is essential to everything, including finances. But with dreams comes discipline, and discipline, patience. And therein lies the problem. But let's find out how to fix it on Choosing Your Future.
Life is not about you living in the past. It's not about you living in fear. It's about your dreams. It's about what you believe. Life is about you choosing your future.
Lessons for the future begin here.
Welcome to Choosing Your Future podcast. This is episode 033, and we are talking about finances and how it affects your future. First of all, thank you for listening, and visit choosingyourfuture.org. There's all kinds of information on there. Share the podcast, and we are growing, and we thank you for that. I want to jump right in here because we got a lot to talk about today. We have, again, Tim Edwards in the podcast studio, and he just finished a book. He authored a book called Free to Dream.
Free to Dream.
And it's about, basically, it's finances. To really be successful in finances, you got to have a dream.
Absolutely.
A focus on the future.
Yep.
If you don't have a future in mind, you're just going to waste your money. And you have been in banking for 21 years.
Yes.
And you've been a VP at a bank. You've pretty much done it all in banking.
Yeah.
I mean, you started out as a teller years ago, moved on up to marketing, VP, you've loans, you've done it all. You've pretty much seen it all behind the scenes. You know, matter of fact, you've even got some good suggestions on fixing credit reports. And you have a website called
eighthdaygroup.com.
eighthdaygroup.com. We'll have that link in the blog section there on the website at choosingyourfuture.org. And your book's coming out real soon. And you do a lot of speaking on this topic, and you've had a lot of success on this.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that's, again, sticking out is you have to have a dream. And most people don't think about dreaming. They just get in the rut of doing what everybody else does. Well, at 55, I want to do this. I want to retire. I want to, but life goes on.
It does.
And most people don't dream. And what people don't understand is they think, well, even if I dream, I don't have the money for it. But dreaming is what helps sets us up to develop, as you talk about in your book, goals and blueprints for your life, because you are a company.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what you are. It's called Your Life. Your Life, Inc. There's actually a book, I think, called Your Life, Inc. Matter of fact, I think there's a book out there. And you are the best corporation out there. You are. Your life is your company. It's you.
That's it.
And you are the CEO, the VP, the marketing person. You are the financial. You are the everything in your company.
You're even the janitor.
That's what I was going to say. Even in my life, I'm even the janitor. So I want you to talk about. We're on the third topic, which is discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to talk about a little bit about the discipline and how you would talk about it in one of your seminars. And by the way, if you want him to speak, he would be glad to. You can get in contact with him. And I want you to tell some stories. Some success stories of what's happened in that.
Well, unfortunately, there are some success stories, but there are also some stories that are not so successful.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in banking, that's the ones that you see the most of. And that's why this is.
But at your meetings, you've had some success stories turn around.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But, I think, again, when you're talking about discipline, that affects a lot of different parts of your life. You mentioned credit reporting, another big one. And the reason is because, it takes discipline, in budgeting and money management to make sure those bills get paid. Let me tell you, there was I've told people this a lot. Your budget and your credit report can mean life and death. And people will look at me when I say that and you're like, well, what do you, no way, but it can. I've actually seen that. I've witnessed it. I was a loan officer at an office in North Little Rock, Arkansas. And there was a lady that would come in from time to time, and I'll never forget her. And she was really cool. She was just one of those ladies, just really cool. Could bake cookies like nobody's business. She made the best chocolate chip cookies of any cookie I've ever tasted. And there were times that she would come by the office, not for even business, but just to bring us cookies. And so, she was one of those two. I love to cut up with her. She would come in and we would just cut up. I'm acting like I'm calling the cops on her, and she would laugh. And so we had this relationship. And this went on for probably 2 years. And all of a sudden I began to notice her health begin to decline. I noticed, I never would say anything. She never mentioned anything to me, but you could see it. She began to lose weight. Her skin color began to change, and she just looked sick. One day, she come in. She said, Tim, you got a minute? I need to talk. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And so we went to my office, and she began to tell me, she said, well, I don't know if you know this or not, but I was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. And I was like, oh my gosh, I said, well, I noticed you haven't looked so well. And she said, yeah, she said, I just got back a little bit ago from the doctor, and I found a surgeon who's willing to do a procedure. But it's going to cost $2,500, and I don't have it. And so I was wondering, if I could get a loan for that. And I'm thinking, well, that's $2,500, I said, sure, absolutely. Let me see what we can do. And so I pulled her credit report. I went and got it off of the printer. And for the first time in my career, I wish I could have shrunk down to about the size of an ant and found a crack and went and crawled in it, because I knew what I was about to have to do. And her credit report, absolutely, it stunk. First 2 or 3 pages were nothing but profit and loss write-offs, collections, and different civil judgments and these kind of things. And the thing was, I knew now what I had to do. And so I walked back out, told her, said, I'm so sorry, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that loan for you. And she looked at me with tears rolling down her cheeks. And she said, but I thought we had a relationship. I thought, you know me, you know me. I've come in here every week for the last 2 years and all these things. And I said, I know. And I said, I'm so sorry. I was like, if I had the money in my back pocket right now, I would give it to you. But I don't, and I can't do this loan. And she looked at me.
And it's not your fault. I mean, it's the rules set out by the companies.
Yeah.
And
if I would have done the loan, I'd have lost my job. And so, I told her I'm so sorry. She stood up and she said, I thought out of all people, you would be able to help me. And she left my office that day. And my heart, man, it just sunk. I was no good for the rest of the day. It really bothered me. Everybody else in the office heard and knew what was going on. Well, I think it was probably about 3 months later. I never saw her again after that, but about 3 months later, one of the young girls that worked for me at the time, she come in and she had the obituary, and she slid it across my desk, and it was that woman's picture. She had just recently passed. And so, here's the thing, the credit report, the mismanagement of her money, it didn't happen just when she was sick.
it was a lifetime.
This had been going on for a long time. This wasn't just something recent because of, the sickness or the illness. This was something that had been going on for some time. And, ever since then, I've always questioned, what if she could have seen in that crystal ball and saw 3, 4, 5 years up the road when she needed it the most? And now it did mean life and death for her.
Which means you got to think about the future.
You have to. Absolutely.
I mean, there's no way of knowing she was going to have leukemia.
No.
And, everybody's going to probably say, well, that's why we need to change our healthcare system in the country. We need to do this. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you change the healthcare system. There's still going to be something else in life that's going to come up.
And you mentioned discipline earlier. This is why discipline is so important. Not only is budgeting and creating your goal and then setting your budget or your blueprint to meet that goal, but this is why discipline is so important. Because without that discipline, when life happens, and it will happen, promise you.
Whether it's a roof, car, breakdown, something.
Sickness, illness, whatever, life will happen. But at some point in time, you have, when life happens, you have got to have something to fall back on. And sometimes it's that discipline that gets you through those moments where you probably will want to quit. But discipline will remind you and say, no, we can't quit here.
The reason why people spend money when they don't have it is because they're trying to find a freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them.
Yeah.
In essence, they're living a dream, pretending, escaping, but they're going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Where the dream ought to be developing the discipline, they're dreaming to escape.
Yes. Escape is a good word.
Escape reality.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why sometimes we spend money when we don't have it. Just, if we're going through a tough time, depression, we talked about that a little bit. A little sad, alone, we have a tendency to, spend money.
Yeah.
So when we say discipline, that sounds harsh, but what we're saying is more getting back in control.
That's it. Yes. Just having a dream and just having a blueprint or a budget is not enough. I mean, you can have those things. You can dream the biggest dreams, that there is. They can be huge. I mean, and you can develop a blueprint or goals or to meet those dreams or to achieve those things. And that is great.
Well, the dream is the source. The blueprint is the method. The discipline is the action.
Discipline is the action. And so those things are not going to get off the ground without discipline. It's no different than you can design a plane. You can engineer a plane from the ground up, and it can be the best, most beautiful engineered thing in the world. And the reason that you designed that plane was to get you off the ground so that you could fly. And those things are great, but discipline is kind of like the jet engine on that plane. It's what's going to drive that thing. And without it, it will not get off the ground.
I think people really need to understand that our future, that's the name of this show, Choose Your Future. And the whole premise of this is take responsibility. Choose your spiritual well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being. Choose your life. Don't let just life happen to you. Make good choices so that you have a hope and a future. Take charge of your life. Choose your future.
Thank you for listening to the Choosing Your Future podcast. For more information, please visit choosingyourfuture.org. That's choosingyourfuture.org.
Protecting your ideas can be difficult with the internet. Whether you're a songwriter, inventor, author, or screenwriter, WriterLock brings security back into the hands of creators, letting you know who, where, when, and how people are listening and viewing your next big idea. Start sharing securely with WriterLock. Visit WriterLock.com.